Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Newcastle Town Board, the meeting of January 13th, 2026. The board has been in executive session, and now I'd like to ask for a motion to open the work session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are going to start off with an update on the Chapline project. Go ahead, Rob.
Lauren, can you help me out? So we have making some progress on the Chapline project. So first of all, we have launched our website. There's a link on the town, it's our dedicated website for the Chapline. There it is. If you just wanna scroll through it a little bit. So as part of the website, what it shows is the project schedule. So you see we have a project started in September and site inventory and analysis. That's the stage that we are at the moment. So our surveyors and environmental specialists were out in the field in November. They came back, brought the data back to the office, and they're in the process of preparing and submitting to us and to B&L and to our staff experts the survey results. So the next step at that point becomes the start of the design process. And one of the things as part of the design process, we came up with the projected route with the feasibility study. And it's not gonna vary too much from that route, but based on what they found in the survey, the topographical conditions, the environmental conditions, the wetlands, etc., that may move the route several feet one way or the other, and they'll offer us some alternatives to the feasibility study, the actual route there. So through the spring, they'll present that to us and we'll ultimately pick the exact route, and then they'll begin the design process there. So as you scroll down through everything, when you get to the different design approvals and permitting, etc., we are looking for the bid opening in the fall of 2027 and the construction to start in the fall of 2027 or the winter of 2028. A lot of this is gonna depend on the permitting, as we've seen with some other projects in town and Getney Park, etc. When you start involving the DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers, etc., some of the permitting procedures can be a little bit difficult to navigate and definitely time consuming. So Lauren has continued to scroll through the website. What's included in the website, we have links, we have PDFs of the feasibility study, we have maps of the proposed route. I think we have some pictures on the website as well. And scrolling all the way down, we have the beaver.
Oh. Nice.
And a little background on the beaver and its relevance to the area. So the website lists Sabrina as the contact for the project. So her email address is there, and if anybody residents have any questions, I know B&L has also we can direct questions to them, and Lee Jones will speak and has spoken directly to residents. When she was out on site, some people came out of their houses and said, hey, what are you doing? You're starting this, etc. So she walked through what exactly they were doing.
So is there a place on the website for people to actually ask questions, or is it just contact information?
No, I think
call someone or
yeah.
email someone to ask questions?
Correct, and throughout that process, there will be public presentations from Barton and Wajudas where they share information with the public. We'll update, somewhat informally from time to time like I'm doing right now, but we will then B&L will come and give their full presentations too.
Maybe it might be good after a time, after they receive certain inquiries, to have an FAQ section.
Yep.
So I didn't get a chance to read everything that was in the project background there. I'll go to the website and take a look. Are there goals of, an explanation of our goals and benefits in that, or is it just a logistical background of
Yeah, I think it's just the logistical background. There's some kind of bullet points that are key, I guess, key parts of the project that, timelines we're hoping to meet and benchmarks throughout the project. And that's listed and that will be updated and, as more information as we go through the project, I imagine we'll include the survey report on there and
Right.
any other information, any deliverables that come from B&L.
Okay, well, since this is the place for the public to really know what's going on and get information, it might be nice to have a section on benefits to the community, walkability, biking. I know we talked at some point about having bike rentals available.
Programming from T-Town maybe,
Yeah,
right?
with the bird sanctuary,
Bird
so
sanctuary, yeah.
it would be nice and letting people know that this is about connectivity. Obviously, reducing greenhouse gases, connectivity to the train station, connecting the two areas, commercial areas. Just so people get a sense of the why in this. It should be obvious, but it would be nice to
Sure.
to
Yeah,
put
it
that, and I know this is a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't possibly put everything down right now, so these are just, this is a great start. I love this, I like having a dedicated website. And over time, it would be nice to populate it with those sections.
Yeah, absolutely, and like you say, it is a work in progress, we can add to the website, we really felt like it was important to get this up, that I think it starts to show the community there is progress, right?
It's happening.
You can see something, you can start checking some of these benchmarks off, we've reached that, we're doing this and it's been discussed for a long time. 20 years or more on and off, and really probably for the last 5 years or so in earnest. And we did not receive the first round of TAP funding that we requested, and we were successful with the second round. So that really made it a viable project at that point. It's not an inexpensive project, but if there's money out there that can assist us, and we really hope that at the end of this design phase that there's more money at the end. And we believe, our consultants have told us, once you have a completed project, the feasibility study was great, but once you have actual design plans and construction plans in place, it's easier to get money. They wanna give you money for shovel-ready projects.
Yes, we've heard that before. a
And
few
people really
times.
care about walkability and the extent to which the town has looked into the building of sidewalks
Yep.
and understanding, the impediments and the millions of dollars of costs that sidewalks in many areas would take to be successful. I mean, this is one area that we can definitely point to that'll have a big impact on walkability and connectivity. So
Is-
yeah.
Is the
go ahead.
website live now, Rob?
Yes.
It is.
So this can be found on the town website, I think it's under the government tab and projects of note. So
Is there any way to make that more visible? Put it on it's so hard for people people won't even know it's there, so things get buried under
Yeah.
that. It's a good place to keep it, but if we could also have a link right in front, because it should be front and center, it's a current.
Yeah, I'll
Current
talk to
project.
Carrie to see what we can do to make it more prominent.
The way we did with Envision, didn't we have a link and some sort of image on the
Yeah, I'll-
homepage?
I'll work with Carrie.
Something like that,
Mhm.
yeah.
I love this, Rob. I think this is great, and shout out to everyone who put it together. The timeline, especially the accountability that comes with it, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, we really felt like I said, this project people have heard about, and I'm sure their thought was, is this ever getting built? And we don't really believe it's getting built, and to
Just
show
changes that perception.
timelines and we're making progress,
100%.
that's important.
I think it's phenomenal.
Something to get excited about, for sure.
Yes. Any other questions, comments?
I'm excited that the beaver finally has the explanation. I've been wondering about that for a long time.
Yeah, I will say B&L throughout the process has loved to include that beaver in a lot of their graphics and
He's an icon. Ooh, we
they
should.
like it, so.
BNL really has expertise in wildlife.
Mhm.
They have a lot of different areas of expertise that are pertinent to this area, and I thought that was a real plus. So I like seeing that because I know it means that they understand the environmental concerns.
They do, and they
And,
have specialists
yeah.
that work with the DEC and that understand the permitting process, which is important.
Alright, okay, thank you, Rob. Okay, so the next item on the work session agenda is an initial conversation here, initial discussion on our town board goals and objectives for 2026. The board has received a copy of the goals that we had in 2025 that we can work off. We certainly can add to it, adjust. And like I said, this is a discussion, this is a work session, so this is the first time that we're taking a look this year at the 2025 goals in order to assess the 2026 goals we might have going forward. Okay, now how do you wanna, Rob, do you want to
Yeah, let me walk through and let me just explain what I did here. So I took the document, which was a little confusing format wise. So I took the document that we worked with last January 2025, and I just kind of refined it a little bit, categorized it, and then the first column are notes. I took what we had and talked about last year. I didn't add anything, I didn't remove anything, and the middle column there are the notes that were made at the time. And on the far right column are the updates that I can provide right now that show we have made some progress through the year. So do you want me to?
Okay, so we can start with you put this in the category of facilities, as it should be, the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, which is a big a very important facility to the town. It's unique, and I think it makes our town very special, and we've always wanted to maintain it as a community theater and is a theater that can be flexible in its programming. So I want to thank Jen Klein for introducing us to Rachel Szymanski. It was really imperative that we have a financial plan for this building and a creative vision. And Rachel has started to do that. You know, the facility has a number of bookings, but to have a creative vision, I think, is important for the direction that we move in, and so that people can identify what this facility is, and in terms of advertising and branding and attracting beyond our community. So where we've left off, as you've put here, is Rachel Szymanski's completed an initial report in 2025. She will come back on as a part-time.
Yeah,
Or I'm not sure that we've completely decided, I don't wanna get ahead of it, but she will be working for the town, whether
Right.
it's part-time or.
Yep, so I've been working closely with Rachel. She took most of the month in November and December off. She just had another child. So she was able to spend time with her, and she's kind of slowly getting back into it now. We haven't formalized the agreement. I spoke with her several times today on her what her agreement or contract will look like with the town. We don't think we're far apart. She's gonna get another draft back to me, and then we'll work with legal and just make sure we're covered with everything there. She's doing a little bit of work in the interim, just kind of before she had left, she had set up 2 events, and we're kind of testing. We're gonna look at a different mix of events to see what we think works. We're working with, she's working with a promoter right now, and we're gonna try to look at different structures of revenue. So what does ticket sales look like? Who pays the expenses? How does it work when they come in? Is there a share of the tickets? Is there a facility fee? Is there all types of stuff? So we're looking at different parameters there, and we're gonna measure. So she's got the first event scheduled for March 20th. And I don't recall the date of the second event, but I think it's towards the end of April. So they are cover bands. I think March 20th is Fleetwood Mac, and I don't recall the band
Putting that on the calendar.
April. So so we're getting ready. We're scheduling a meeting with Matthew to help launch on the Facebook page for the Chat Pack, starting the promotion in the next week or so. She is working with the promoter, there's some advertisements and some graphics that we're gonna share, and we're gonna get the information out there. So we're moving forward. The report that Rachel gave us was really comprehensive.
Very much so. Yeah, it's very encouraging,
So a lot of
exciting.
detail. It's not all
Yeah.
gonna happen overnight. We'll start to incorporate stuff and you know, Rachel felt like after once she was in there for several months, she could now, we really think 2027 to put together a whole schedule. It's not to say there won't be stuff in 26, there absolutely will, but she feels like she can put together a season or a program that you could, you know, maybe buy a series of different things. So we're working with that right now, so.
Okay, really great. And everyone is thrilled to work with her, friends of Chapac, and she, you know, she's a wonderful person to work with, very collaborative. And she's also a resident, she's part of the community, so she understands what we would like to see here, and she understands the surrounding areas in order to attract people and what it takes to do the promotion
Yep.
of programming. So she is very versatile. And so I'm excited for this. I think it should definitely be a top priority for us, but you know, I'd like to hear from everyone else what you think of Chapac and where we are and where we're going.
I'm all in,
All in.
all in.
Okay. Eric, you're all in?
I couldn't agree with both of you more. Yeah, Rachel's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly impressed with her business plan. I'm all in.
Great.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it goes without saying that I'm all in.
Yeah.
Rachel has, you know, Chapac has always been a gem, and it just needed sort of a coordinated approach. There are several stakeholders who care deeply about the place and have wanted to make good programming, and to some extent have. But I think Rachel is just gonna take it to the next level in her coordination, and even just in her plan, she has spoken to all those stakeholders. She did such deep research, and then also brings to bear her own experience and knowledge in the field. And I really think, you know, creating a season, just like theaters out, you know, that maybe some of us have heard of, you know, maybe up in the Berkshires or the Adirondacks or the Catskills, wherever, you know, there are these theater companies where you know what their season is every year, and they really promote it as such. And then of course there'll be just a continuation of the use of Chapac for municipal reasons and rentals and
Right, our committees use it. I mean, we should have the
I
Lunar
mean,
New
we
Year
just
event
used it last
coming up.
night for the inauguration, which was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much that goes on there already that is spectacular, and part of Rachel's study was to actually, you know, survey the community and find out what people love to go there to see. And, you know, different corners of the community like different things. There's so much that can be done there and has been done there, and we're just gonna continue to do that. So I'm really excited to have her you know, just pull it all together and make it make sense for the future. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
glad.
thank you again, Jen, for finding Rachel. For us, that was a very important,
Amazing.
that was very important work that you did, and I know you did a lot of background work on that. These things don't happen overnight, they don't happen by magic. There's really a lot of legwork that goes on in the background, so
Yeah, and
thank
finding
you.
Rachel and also defining what we need from someone like her. I think doing research to figure out what that role could look like, what it could
Yes.
be.
Yeah, because Chapac has been around for a long time, and it's had different iterations of management and visions and viewpoints, and so it was a matter of rethinking
Mhm,
how we handle this, and not just programming and vision wise, but financially.
mhm,
Everything, you know, has to fit together.
mhm.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob, for working so closely
We
with her.
we work well together.
Yeah.
Our personalities kind of match. I don't,
All right.
every time I pick up the phone, she's bubbly and
Mhm.
you can't help but
Adore her.
just, I'm happy because, to be honest, Jill and I had this kind of dropped in our lap in 2016. We haven't always enjoyed it. There's been some growing pains, and this is the most optimistic I have been since I've been involved in 10 years. So I think it's on a really good track.
Another thing for the community to look forward to.
Yes.
Chapline, Chapac.
Top line and chop pack.
All the chaps.
They
All
can
the
ride,
chaps.
they can ride their bike
Chapline,
from,
Chapac.
eventually from the hamlet up to see
That's
a
right.
show and
That's
dinner.
exactly right, or they can walk to a restaurant. But anyway, I was so excited about the chop line and chop pack that I wanna go back up in the chart to environmental concerns. That's the first thing listed here actually, and climate change resilience. Now we announce periodically grants and projects from the Climate Smart Task Force,
So we,
and so we did that
we had a number of them.
last year. We have
in
had a number of projects.
25, right? We've got a whole slew of new EV chargers that we're putting out there. I think we're replacing Gedney Park, which has been dormant for a while. That machine broke a while back in the Allen Place parking lot. There's a few other locations. I'm not sure if we're adding one more to Amsterdam. So that was part of it. We just got a new electric vehicle for Town Hall that will be added to the Town Hall fleet. Those are off the top of my head. Some electric landscaping equipment for Ike's office. Those are off the top.
Did he say he had trouble with some of the equipment? Because
So
of the heaviness
in
of-
certain conditions, right? I think he mentioned when the grass was wet, it was difficult to use the electric mower because the engine was so much heavier than the gas mower. So he said his staff did like to use it, but there were certain conditions it wasn't ideal.
But it's still
to use it.
useful.
It's still useful,
Right.
yeah.
So I think we should continue with these climate smart
Yeah,
climate
absolutely.
smart equipment.
And Sabrina's been great
And-
because she works closely just identifying all this funding. Some of the other funding that we've come up with, not necessarily through the NYSERDA, but we've come up with some of the CREST grants where we've got heat pumps in the train station building. We've now got heat pumps in the Amsterdam facility. And so Sabrina has identified all of that she and her staff have been great in finding the money for us.
Yeah, and the town has LED lightings
Yeah.
and street lamps. We have LED lighting at Chapac now. We have
Solar panels is on the
Chapac
Chapac,
roof.
so our the panels were installed and were working towards the end of last year. We had a communication issue, the Wi-Fi we were still using the panels and still generating electricity. We didn't have the feedback on the energy used or produced in that, so that was fixed in the last couple of weeks. So we don't have any measurable feedback yet versus prior year to kind of see, but over the next couple of months we'll have measurable feedback once now that communication link was reestablished and we'll have data coming back from that.
Okay.
I just have a few thoughts that I wanted to add in the environmental conservation space and sustainability. We kind of went through our envision process talking about the train station, and I think we kind of came to a place where we didn't there wasn't a lot of appetite, I think, to significantly change the structure of parking, or at least the number of parking spaces. So I think it might be time to start talking about, do we look into like solar canopies in the parking lots that we're able to. There's advantages to one, generating the solar energy, but it also would reduce the needs for plowing. It would keep the cars cooler, so there's an advantage to the residents parking, and then walking over to the train station, they could be sheltered from rain and things like that. So probably not exactly within a 2026, but I'd like to see if we can start exploring that. And then I also
You're gonna move, I just have a question
Oh,
about
yeah.
that, and it's really a question for Rob. With those solar canopies, are there very long-term contracts associated
Usually
with
there are,
those?
yeah, usually there are.
And what are the time periods
We know,
roughly?
do you have experience? I'm gonna say probably 20 to 30 years, that they're probably,
So I think we have to keep that in mind, that's what I
It's
think of,
is that accurate?
in terms of, I mean, I know we had the Envision survey and people were pretty clear that they wanted green spaces, walkability, more parks areas.
Yeah.
So no, there are a lot of considerations, I just wanna put it out there before we move
Yeah.
on to another topic, so the
Adding greens,
consideration is that it's long-term, like 20, 30 years, so there would be nothing we could do if the community changed its mind and wanted to use the land for something else, nothing we could do for 30 years. That's really committing a lot into the, holding this up into the future. Also, in terms of green spaces and walkability, those canopies are from the way I've looked at them, they really take up the space. It's have you seen the Mount Pleasant Town Hall? Have you gone?
yeah, I think they,
They are I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but they are a real structure.
Yeah.
And it really is moving in an opposite direction from greening the space and providing walkable. So, there are different considerations that to take into account. It's not just simply putting in these solar panels. There are a lot of features that we opt out of when
Yeah.
we do that.
no, I absolutely, I
Yeah.
don't disagree, but I'd like to see us take like a hard look at it and, kind of explicitly make a decision rather than just kind of, for
I
fear
agree
of.
with that,
the-
yeah,
yeah.
we need to
Yeah.
explore it.
Yep,
Yeah.
so that's something I'd like us to be able to do, and there are environmental benefits to greening more there as well. I mean, if we could get trees planted, if we decide in that, I think that either way, there's something we can do environmentally with the train station that's better than what we have. Sorry,
I was just gonna say with the solar canopies, I know Croton, it took them 5 years when they started exactly what you're describing and they put them in. So I don't think, I agree, like it wouldn't be a 2026, I think we didn't understand like, it's not, yes, there might be a 20-year contract on the thing, but it's also gonna take us half a decade if we decided tomorrow that we wanted them in. So yeah, I think it's definitely, I'm with you, Holly, 100%, I think it's something worth exploring.
And also it doesn't have to be there, it could be at other places. I mean, that is prime land for the future. So I would say we look at different options as well as to location.
absolutely,
Yeah.
But I would like us to take a hard look at that, or at least start to this year. The other thing is I'd like to know if we could take a look at the tree bank, the planting bank. 'Cause I know the balance is pretty high in there, and
It is.
in the last conservation meeting, we were talking with Dennis, and he basically can't plant as much as that fund is at.
Correct.
So I'm wondering if there might be some flexibility we could explore with that fund to potentially open it up for other uses such as land acquisition, if there were open space parcels that we may want to acquire in the future. That way,
Yeah, that's
I think the tree,
It's a
that's
Tree fund is
pretty
pretty,
tight.
it's pretty tight as
we
to
can
that
use
purpose.
yeah.
there's no changes you can make to it.
That's, if it goes to the tree fund, that's specifically for a specific purpose for that.
Okay.
I mean, I think we
So
may,
maybe-
How much money's in there?
probably not quite a $500,000, but in the 400,000, mid 400,000 range off the top of my head.
Are there things we could do, like establish a different fund and redirect, cause I understand, like this is, sometimes they put money into the tree bank cause they're not planting during like the
Right.
planning board process,
But
so.
those funds are supposed to be used for the specific purpose of either planting more trees or coming up with maybe another park. I mean, it's specific to that, so it's. you
What
can't-
about not cutting down trees in land? That doesn't, I mean, cause honestly, if we can save a small forest, that's almost better than planting a lot of new trees or not being able to plant them. But if it's totally locked down, then I guess that's what it is. But if there's anything we could do to, cause we're not gonna spend through that to do new plantings, it's never gonna happen,
Yeah,
the
I-
rate it's filling.
I actually had this conversation with Dennis this morning and he gave me kind of the ratio that he was thinking and he's like, you know, we're spending $1,500 to $2,000 a year but bringing in about $13,000 a year is his estimate and he's like, I can't. And I said to him, I said, you know, what you know, we had an idea that I wouldn't yet bring to the board a place because it's not anything he would propose at the moment, but we just, you know, I'd asked him to start thinking about
Okay.
what would be a use, but yeah, it's very narrowly defined and I think we actually revised it 5-6 years ago maybe, where we included it was very specific to trees and I'm not sure if we included like shrubs or other plantings or the
They would-
soil
yeah, they would
and
qualify,
planting
yeah.
materials. So it was very specific at first and we added a little bit more. But it had to be really closely related and we definitely, you can't remove a tree
No.
or remove any kind of vegetation with the fund.
Do we think
No, I
that-
wouldn't want to remove it, I would say, you know,
Yeah.
if there's,
Use it for prevention, is that basically what you're
yes,
saying?
to
How, well, you have to
keep
define
some-
prevention then.
But there was some talk
Well,
maybe
exactly.
of at one point, was my suggestion, but there was talk of maybe removing like invasives, et cetera, and planting natives or things like that, and they said, you can go ahead and plant the natives, you can't remove anything with it though.
yeah, I mean,
Not with those funds.
yeah, I don't know if there's anything that we can, like if you're continuing to talk Dennis, but
Yeah.
also just kind of like from a fiduciary standpoint, to continue having people deposit money into a fund that we simply don't have enough land to
Mhm.
plant it on,
Yeah,
it's not the best use of that money either.
Can you explain the process of depositing monies in that fund?
So it's when there's a development project and you know, you're building a new house and you're removing some number of trees off the property because you need to put the house there. You've either gotta replace every tree that you cut down, and if you're not able to, if there's not enough land on the property or you
Right,
haven't.
you're supposed to contribute to that fund to offset, so that should the town decide to go plant more trees,
Right,
that's the whole purpose of
So,
that fund.
and it's a local law.
yes.
Yes,
Can we write another local law giving the option to
Yeah.
donate to a different kind of purpose? When people cut down trees, a purpose that's related to the cutting down of trees, but
your local law comes from the state, I mean, you have to track to make sure that you're allowed to make that move, so it's up.
right, it would keep our local law intact, but create a different law for options.
I mean, the other thought is, I mean, you could reduce also the amount of, you know, what the contribution to that fund is, that's another option, you could reduce.
But I would still like to take advantage of the monies
I-
that people have to
Yeah, and I almost,
contribute to something.
I don't know that I'd wanna reduce the amount because it's almost a disincentive to cut down a tree, right?
Yeah.
If you don't make it, and I don't wanna say punitive, it's not necessarily punitive, but if you lower the amount, then it's just easy to cut down a whole
Yeah.
bunch of trees, so
Right, we
you know,
wanna keep the amount.
you do wanna leave an incentive to try to avoid cutting down the trees if that's possible.
Right, which is exactly why I was,
Could
you
you
know,
look into this, Lino, to see if we can draft another local law giving people well, we don't wanna touch the existing law and say that they would have the option of donating into that fund. We don't wanna amend the existing law. I don't know how to put it so that we're not in contravention of the local law. If you can find a creative way to give people the option to donate in a different way.
so
What
they're
if
not, I
there
mean, they're
is
not
a max?
donating,
What
let's
if the
be
tree
clear.
fund were to reach an amount?
It's sort of a-
It's
They're
a-
paying into.
If
a
we
different
are
fund.
at this threshold, then you can, as an alternative,
general
put
fund?
it.
Well, I know what you're thinking,
I would like that.
I
I
know
didn't
you
say
all would
it.
like
I
it,
didn't
but-
say it.
Well, no, like a purchase of open land fund
Well, that, yeah,
is
well,
what I
that,
would like
well,
to
that's a separate,
finance.
that's also a separate purpose, which you can do, so, but not, again.
But
when you-
separately, not with,
Separately, not with these funds,
Yeah.
so.
So
as
not
of
with
now-
not with these funds, but as of now, can we say that if a certain number of trees are cut down, that the residents have the option of paying into an open land fund?
So there is like an in lieu, like some municipalities have an in lieu fee where if you're doing like a subdivision, for example, right, you're taking away open space, there's a fee for that goes into the fund to preserve open space. So I know I was involved in a municipality where we had those funds and we actually acquired multiple acres of property to reduce it, like the subdivision from, let's say 90 lots to make it 50, right? So, but that was all earmarked in a specific fund for that money to go into. So I think what I could look at to see whether we can expand that fund to encompass other purposes that
Tree
have some type,
preservation maybe.
yeah, some type of relationship to tree preservation or open space, if we can maybe do something, that's something we'll have to look at,
Right,
but
because preservation does involve trees.
yeah, we're
for instance.
basically, so again, we have to see how we can work that out, because again, to Rob's point, the example, which was a good one, you're building a house, you're losing trees, you're supposed to replace them, some have a 1-for-1, others 2-for-1, so if you take one tree out, you have to plant two. So, yeah, and that money specifically for that purpose, so if we could find a way, maybe broaden that tree fund to maybe call it something else, or call it like preservation, open space, put it all in one. But again, it has, in terms of the tree component, that's gotta remain. I need to find out whether it can be expanded, because when
Yeah.
I've dealt with them, they've been very separate, you know, there's one fund for open space, there's one fund for tree.
And my thinking really was to prevent on a parcel from having trees cut for the purpose of development, you know, in another location than the place that is already in the planning stage. So yeah, if it's adjacent, I'm totally happy.
And I'll say that Dennis works really hard with the applicants to he doesn't want money in the tree bank fund. Dennis wants trees. So
Right.
he works with them to try to find an acceptable part of the site that they can actually plant trees and trees that would work in that area. So, Dennis's preference is not to add to the fund, but to add to the trees.
But it grows.
Yep. It's not always possible.
Yeah.
Is it just trees or is it any sort of plantings?
I think it's just trees.
Mainly trees, but they did expand
I think because isn't
caliper.
there the scale, so based on the diameter of the tree.
Yep.
The larger the tree, the more money that you're contributing to the
Correct.
fund.
Okay, anything else for climate change resilience? We're good, okay, we can move on. Town hall renovations. We have issued an RFP, we are going to select a firm to do a needs assessment. And as soon as we do that, there'll be a kickoff meeting with the staff, so we are on course to reassess what we're going to do with town hall.
Yep, in the kickoff meeting, we expect we'll get a timeline. In their proposal, they kind of gave us a timeline, but they're not in here, they haven't seen the building yet, they've seen it from the outside. They haven't walked the interior of the building, so they'll do that, they'll go through each office, they'll take measurements. They'll meet with staff to, determine kind of how much space they need for each desk, for each employee, for each office. How much space do they need to help residents coming in. Like development department, now you kind of have a little box when you walk in there, and they actually, people wait out in the lobby for their turn to come in and speak to them, because it's a little cramped, and especially during COVID when everybody was worried about, being contagious and sharing germs. So that'll be the next steps, and I'll share that with the board once we start. We're naming the contractor, we're awarding the contract this evening, and we'll give them the authorization to proceed tomorrow.
Right, so we'll have that discussion later, yeah.
Mhm.
But so they'll be looking at staffing, what else, we have the police department, we have the town court system, the justices, the entire court structure here, and but we also have use and needs of the community.
Mhm.
So for common spaces and looking at adding recreational spaces somewhere in town, whether it's town hall or elsewhere, that's something that we could use as well.
Yeah, so the start of the project is to determine the existing needs. And then once we do that, then you're gonna determine growth for the future and what you would want to add to the facility.
Right,
So-
I mean, there are the existing needs for staff.
Yep.
but there are what I consider existing needs or wants for the community.
Yeah.
So those are different, but equally important. I mean, we absolutely need the space for the staff. So anyway, I look forward to hearing from them. That's definitely on our list of priorities. We're well on our way to doing that. So we can have more detailed discussions when that time comes. Okay. Parks and Recreation. I see turf field on this list. I don't recall that being a serious consideration.
Yeah,
Last year, maybe we did discuss
He
it.
said need to have,
Um,
not nice to have, not need
Not
to
a
have.
priority. I'm not sure that we wanna keep that on. I mean, turf fields are good to have, but we don't have a field that would accommodate you know, a proper size.
Yeah, I think taking an existing field that we have that's green and making it artificial, I'm not sure that's ideal.
Right, the school district has 2 turf fields at this point, and I think that addresses the needs of sports teams, you know.
And I agree, that was, listed here as a nice to have, and I would agree with that assessment, that's definitely not a need to have, in my opinion.
Okay, so is everyone good in crossing that out
Yes.
for now?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Next is improvements to Amsterdam Park, and this was really to increase camp opportunities. How are we on that capacity
So
and looking at further expansion?
so the board approved the surveying company last fall. They're working on the survey of the property now, so we need to determine the exact path for the sewer line to connect in with the trunk line. So we're working on that now. Once they complete that, staff will design this in-house. So we did a little bit of legwork back at the beginning of the project, based on the size of the pipes. Does not require, the size of the pipes and the capacity that they expect to come, effluent, to come from the bathrooms there. We don't need county approval for this, health department approval, so it can be done locally and our staff is capable of designing this. I think we determined we're gonna have a contractor doing the trenching work, but other than that, our staff is capable of designing, so we install the sewers, we're then able to build, I think, 2 bathrooms in the building, and then we were also looking to renovate the upstairs, which is kind of, if you've ever been there, it's really just an unfinished attic at the moment. It's really cold and drafty and just not a pleasant place to be, but we're looking to improve that and to finish that area that can be used for offices or activities up there. We need to put in another egress on the other side. There needs to be another stairwell. So all of that is in the works. Won't be completed in time for summer camp this year, unfortunately, but the goal is to have that all online and ready to go for summer camp next year. So you're also later on tonight approving the bathroom trailer, hopefully for the last time.
Okay, when that's all done, how will that impact, and this is for Camp Adventure, right? So how will that impact enrollment and waiting lists for Camp Adventure?
So I'm not sure if that's gonna increase that, it's going to make it viable. We may not have to rely on the school in terms of inclement weather because the campers will be able to go inside to the building. The bathrooms, that was a limitation before, and then we started bringing in the bathroom trailers, so that, while not ideal, it eliminated that as a problem. So I've talked with Ike before, there, as a kind of a wish list for Ike is maybe a gazebo facility. He pointed out to me, it'd be hard for me to describe, but kind of like a covered area, and that would help increase capacity.
Like the ones at Gedney?
Yeah,
Some sort of
Similar to pole
pavilion,
barn?
pavilions?
yeah, something like that, so that, in if it rained, if there was heat, if there was something, you could get kids out of the area. So, that's on his wish list, but the first step is the sewer line, which we did receive a CREST grant for $250,000 for that project. So it's the sewer line, the bathrooms, and the renovation of the interior, and then, a possible structure would be the next step.
Okay. Remind me, with the summer camp, did all of the applicants get into Camp Adventure eventually?
I believe so.
I seem to recall
I
that.
believe so, yeah.
Okay. But it was just at capacity.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think the one camp that we just couldn't accommodate everybody was the on the go, and there are limitations on that. The bus is number one, and two, some of the facilities that we would go to could not accommodate an additional 40 children from our program. They're doing programs, they're doing camps from all over the local area, so there were some limitations with that. I think, I don't wanna put words in Ike's mouth. I think that everybody that wanted the 6-week on the go program was accommodated. I think the people that weren't accommodated were the people that were doing piecemeal, that might have wanted to do just 1 or 2 weeks. And based on the events, they would join for a week, and we felt like prioritizing the people that needed the camp, maybe for all 6 weeks because parents worked, et cetera. We prioritized that. And-
That's my
and
recollection
I
as
believe we
well.
were able
Yeah,
to
me too.
accommodate everybody.
And
Yep.
remind me again with the tots, that's a more difficult one because they're very little and we rely on the elementary schools and
It is,
that
and
can
I,
fall through at times because the schools do work on their school facilities in the summer.
correct, we worked that out last year and we got a commitment already for this summer that it's settled. I don't recall which school, but I do recall Ike saying it's been settled, so
And last year, did we accommodated all the
we did,
tots?
yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the only groups we did not accommodate were the ones who wanted piecemeal time periods for on the go.
Yeah, I believe so, and I
Okay.
have to confirm that with Ike, but that
Yeah, I mean, that's what I recall, but I don't wanna go by memory.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay. Let's see, well, we've gone a little far from the goals, but this is all related and in terms of thinking of how we renovate the structure at Amsterdam Park, I just wanted to get a sense. Because you mentioned possibly offices there, so I'm wondering, do we need offices there and is it more important to accommodate the campers?
So we have typically in the summer like a nurse's office, and it's kind of a makeshift now, so that if something happens, sometimes they need to come in out of the heat.
Okay, so
sometimes-
that's important, to have a nurse's okay.
It wasn't necessarily for like Ike's office or anything to move
Mhm.
over there, but it was, for
I
an
get it.
office for
Okay.
staff for camp.
Okay, anyone have any questions on this? No. Okay. Public art, movable art, we have an amazing ongoing mural project. Thanks to the Arts and Culture Committee, thank you, Jen. And so I think everyone definitely wants to keep that on our list of priorities. There are now 4 beautiful murals in the Under the Bridge Art Gallery and plans for 4 more coming soon, coming this year.
Yeah, it's been a really exciting unfolding of this. Just looking at this, goals from last year, just the reality that it came to fruition is pretty exciting. And the Arts and Culture Committee worked so hard to make it happen. So yeah, there are so every piece is done by a community member. The 4 murals that we have up, 3 professionals in the community, and 1 was the senior capstone project. So 2 seniors at Horace Greeley last year, and they did it in 3 weeks under the supervision of Ike. So Ike checked them in every day, and then 2 committee members mentored them, and we had the reveal of 3 of the pieces in July, and then we had a winter reveal for this most recent piece. And then the next reveal we're planning again for the second week in June, and we have already received numerous submissions from artists, and so there's a selection process going on. The submission date was pushed to January 23rd, so if anyone out there is listening and wants to consider doing a mural, you still have some time to come up with a proposal and submit. But we do have an embarrassment of riches in terms of the submission so far. So we're going to have hopefully 3 again professional murals and hopefully again a senior project. And we're imagining the space to be sort of a rotating gallery. So, the ones that were put up in June should be up through, 2027, but then at that point, we can actually unscrew them, right? And take them down and do it again. So, and the committee is also thinking about what else can be added to the Bridge Gallery. So they're thinking about sculpture, they're thinking about large scale photography that can be amazingly like printed on banners. So it could be a representation in another sense of the community. So we're just there's a lot of excitement.
I love that idea, Jen. I would just wanna ask whether they would consider doing that in other locations in town. Because the Bridge Gallery was a very obscure, sad looking place, now it's an attraction. But it would also be really wonderful to have more art just in the downtown as you walk around. So
Yeah.
when you think about other art forms other than paintings and murals, like sculptures here or there, I think that would be wonderful
Sure.
to embed that in our experience walking through town.
Maybe in Millwood too?
Yes, and well, the problem, we did a tour with some members of the Millwood West End Advisory Board when the committee first formed. The problem over there is where's the property? It's very hard to convince property owners, not the town, to commit a wall for the town to create a mural.
This is the
on.
Millwood Shopping Center, which is essentially the central area of
Right.
Millwood.
Right. Really the only I think town-owned property is right on that corner where the little train hut used to be.
What about Millwood Park?
So there's in terms of where it would go, I guess a
sculpture, yeah.
could. At the time I think we were focusing on murals, so it would be like the wall. There's I think a wall that is used for sports purposes. So that would be strange to put a mural on. But as we develop ideas around sculpture, we can do that. And we were also sort of hoping to expand, toward the center of the train station area. That I've sort of picked your brain about that.
Yes, that's right. That's
I don't
right.
want to get ahead of the committee, but
And it would work very well in terms of increasing the walkability and greening of the
Right.
space and pathways
Right.
and
sculpture can certainly go on, Greeley, right? But the mural thing got a little dodgy, again, because it's privately owned buildings. But we can revisit that and we can look to sculpture maybe on the main drag of town, coming, out from the train station to the main
it would have to
drag.
be in a location where it's protected
Right,
and
right.
I am not sure what
Not
that would look like, but
Yeah, we can think about that this year. Yeah, great, very exciting.
okay, so that's public movable art, a priority, a goal of this year. Cell service,
Yes.
when Jill was here, she worked tirelessly to get Verizon on board to improve cell service. And as I've learned, Verizon is the company that puts up the towers and other service providers co-locate on those towers. And that's really the model we have around here. We're dealing with a private company and they were very unresponsive for a very long time. Then they became responsive and proposed a site, which we later found out had deed restrictions. We are now in close contact with Homeland Towers and we will be meeting with them. They're in the business of facilitating the construction of cell towers. And so they've been looking at the town of Newcastle and we need to now meet with them and see what information they can provide and what their business model is like and what their assessment is of the areas in town. Rob, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, this was a topic we covered a lot last summer. We did try to get Verizon out here. That didn't work out. We met, it seems like it was probably late fall, with a group at town of Mount Pleasant and I think North Castle and this entity, Homeland Towers. They have several towers in town, so they own the tower, they installed the tower over off Campfire Road. That was their tower, the town, they installed it, the town gets rent from that. They've got some private property in town that they've done before, it's gone through the planning board and they've gone through that process. So they're familiar with the process, that's what they do, is they put up cell towers. They work closely, it seemed from that meeting, with Verizon, but when they put a tower up, they do usually try to, it's of a height that it can accommodate all three of the large carriers. Each carrier requires a certain amount of space so you can't just take the minimum height of a cell tower. You've gotta make sure that you have enough room to accommodate all the carriers that wanna go in the tower. I know, Lena, you have experience, do you have anything to add to what I said, or?
You have to allow room to co-locate, because that's basically what the law requires. And again, you have to account for, we have hills here, line of sight, so there's a lot of things that you factor into. I mean, I was involved with Jill and with Rob and with those carriers and looking at other sites, and some of them are more advantageous than others, but some had some issues of their own with respect to deed restrictions, wetlands in some of them, so. Again, but to Rob's point, yes, you design these to co-locate other carriers on that.
Yeah, and could you remind us of the other options of smaller towers, because when Westchester did its survey, they presented those as options, right? Smaller, I guess I wanna call them towers that could be installed on top of roofs, etc. We thought about the new fire department, fire station that's being built.
Yeah, and that's still a possibility, that's not, the fire department didn't wanna look at that. They're having their
I
own
mean, this
issues
is
with
their
the
building, it's
construction.
up to them, but
Yeah, so.
also it's in a dip, and
It
so
is.
would not
That
really,
might- you
would
might
not
need
have
a-
the coverage
line of
that
sight
would
issue.
make it worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem with these smaller boxes, and I don't know if
It's
you.
5G, because they don't go out as far.
Correct, and so part of the problem with the town is the topography of the town, and you need to have a sight line. So if you have these boxes, you're gonna have a lot of them.
You got more of them,
to
right,
make
because
any
we sit in a
difference.
bowl basically, so
Right.
it's, that's the problem, it's geography and the topo. You have to be high up, and if you do smaller, the 5G, you're gonna need, like I said, more of them to basically.
And
Makes
don't they
sense.
need to feed, isn't there like a tower that they need to feed off of that
Correct.
they're connecting with? That's not my specialty,
How far does the tower have to be from, well, I'm asking questions you may not have the answers to
That
right
off
now.
the top of my head, I don't know,
Yeah.
but relatively close proximity so that they can ping it.
Okay, that would be more of an impediment than having a lot of them on roofs, I would think.
Yeah, again, when you're talking about a private entity, it has to make sense for them, right? It has to
bottom
make
line, right.
financial sense and they have to reach, I don't know what their business model is, but they have to improve their service or reach a certain amount of customers for it to make sense for them. They're not in the business yes, it's a public service, but it's a business, and they're not gonna put something up that costs them, they've gotta go through, hundreds of thousands of dollars to install a tower, and you're adding 100 users
Right, I mean, if the gap in coverage is only X number of users, right, then it's not, it may not be worthwhile, again, I'm speaking generally, but if you have a, you know, coverage area that is served by a lot of potential customers, then that might be worthwhile from a profit standpoint to invest in, you know, put a tower in that location, provided, you know, that we have, you know, you can either put it on private property or municipal property, but that's what they look at, you know, the coverage gaps and where we can build and where we can meet, you know, the biggest bang for a buck in terms of trying to get, you know, if there's 3 people in the coverage area that's lacking, it's not really worth it, but if there's like 1,000 people in that coverage area, it makes a lot of sense.
So when Verizon was identifying sites, they were taking all these different variables, right? They were looking at the map where there was a gap that they need, but they were also looking for town-owned land in those areas and that would have the space, that would have the topographical characteristics that they were looking for, and they're you know, they weren't finding a perfect answer, and that Old Lyme site was the best that they could come up with. But if you even remember, I think it was, they needed a 150-foot tower there too. So, you know, while residents feel, and I like to call my mom on the way home from work a lot of times. I have to wait till I get on the Taconic. I can't start in Town Hall parking lot, cause when I drive through town, I don't have service through when I drive on Douglas Road or Hardscrabble and Campfire Road, there's no service there. So you know, that's just a small part of the town, but there are those pockets all over town. So
I have to say goodbye to my mom on the Sawmill because it drops as soon as I enter town. I mean, it's
really
disturbing,
It is,
right?
it
That
is,
we're,
yeah.
there's such a gap and such a hole.
And it's, you know, it's people's safety.
It is about safety.
You know, if you need to call 911,
You wanna be able to,
you need to have
Absolutely.
service. You need to have
Absolutely.
cell service.
And it interferes with work. I don't
It
have service,
does.
I work from home sometimes, my
100%.
husband works from home, we're not getting phone calls, we're not able to join Zoom calls, it's
the complaints are all valid, but then when you have a proposal for a 150-foot tower in your neighborhood,
people don't want it close to their homes. Right. So there's that too, or school.
correct, which we were, Old Lyme was right behind Grafflin.
Right.
So I think we're all aligned, we all really want it and we know there's challenges. So the next step is Homeland, you said they're called?
Yeah.
When is that
We
happening?
are going to meet with them.
When is that
We're
happening?
setting up a
We don't
meeting,
have an exact date, I think.
we are in the
Spoke about
process
the first week
of
in February, but
finding a date to meet within the next few weeks
Okay.
at the latest, yeah.
So that's great.
That's the next step.
So let's get that meeting set up and then we'll figure it out, cause we're all saying the same thing, we all want the same thing. We're
course.
aware what the challenges are. This is great. So next step's the meeting.
There's no one in the community who doesn't want this.
doesn't want this
I
cell
mean,
service.
it's just,
But
you know, we have to convince and persuade
They don't
the
want a tower in their
company,
backyard.
right?
Well, that's how we're like,
To-
yeah, but I'm
to
seeing,
find it
we wanted a
profitable.
meeting 9 months ago and we didn't have
Right,
that
we're
meeting.
dealing with a
I was here,
private
we're saying, oh, Verizon was supposed to come in, they couldn't come in, they had a third party that they had to fire, this and
well, we
that.
ended up, they didn't end up presenting at a public
didn't present
meeting,
it.
cause ultimately the site wasn't viable when their attorney did the title search
Yeah, I
on
was
the
dealing with a
property.
lawyer on that, so I was specifically.
We went kind of far down the road, their attorneys talked to our attorney,
Okay,
and when they did the title search on the property, there were deed restrictions that would not allow anything but a recreational or a passive recreational
On the site.
use for the site.
It was the alienation of parkland, which means you had to go through the state to get parkland alienation legislation passed, which they didn't wanna do.
I mean, it is incredibly frustrating.
yeah,
And we all are as frustrated as anyone because we're the ones who have to answer for it and we're the ones, and especially the staff, doing all the work. A tremendous amount of work to try to get this done, work that, you know, no one sees going on. I know that Jill and then Rob following through would spend hours
I had our whole
Hours
staff out there twice.
getting on the phone with these people.
I had Dennis and Tom, Bob Cioli and myself and Jeff Gaspar, and we met on site with them a couple different times. Dennis went out there, they actually did the wetlands delineation to see if there was an area that they could put the actual structure that was out of the wetlands, you know, a lot of concerns.
At the end of the day, it's a private company, but we have a meeting that we are going to schedule with them and we're moving forward Okay.
Good.
Alright. So that is definitely staying on the list. We have Gedney Park. We are for the first time making sure that we have a good maintenance plan for Gedney Pond. Talk about uncontrollable factors. We have still to get permits from the DEC, right, from the DEC.
Yep.
And so that's in process.
So
We continue to do, yeah, go ahead, Rob.
So there's, I'm told, a total of 3 permits that we need for both processes, so combined for the processing. So the annual treatment, we started that last year and it made a huge improvement once they went out there and treated the pond. So you're actually approving Little Bear, that's the company that does it, we're approving that tonight for the annual maintenance. There is 1 permit required for that is a multi-year permit and it's already in place. There's a second permit that's an annual permit, I think having to do with the specific herbicide that we're using. That is, once we approve that tonight, they will go forward with the permitting of that. We've started the permitting process to do the hydro raking, so we're in the middle of that process. We saw about a 90-day lead period for the permitting last year when we did for the herbicide treatment. So that had a great, it was a visual impact. There's still underneath the surface material there, and that's what the hydro raking will address. But visually and on top of it, you didn't see that algae once they did the treatment last year.
Okay, so we are on course for that. And also we have the 9/11 memorial refurbishing, we've talked about that, we will talk about it further. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it now, but that's in process and we have the funds for it, they got a grant. Thank you, Michael Wolfenson, for working so hard on this. You know, it's a labor of love for him and we will be very excited to see the finished product. Anyone else have anything to say about these 2 items for Gedney? All good? Okay. On sidewalks and walkability, we talked about Chapline. We have the sidewalks on 117 and 120. Rob, do you wanna let us know exactly where we are with that?
Yep, so
And
we're.
there's phase 1, you could take phase 1 and 2.
Yeah, so
together.
the phase 1 is the work around the mobile station. That's an existing sidewalk that's in disrepair that we need to replace. We have the survey that's been completed. Jeff is working with the designer now to work on the path. There were some issues with some easements around the property, et cetera. We're working that out, so that's in process, that's going to happen. That's what we're considering phase 1. What we're considering phase 2 then is to extend that from the mobile station down to Salem. We've in-house, I think we kind of took a look at that. I think the next step to make that go forward, we need a survey of that and then to come up with a cost estimate to share with the board. It's not going to be inexpensive, so just so we're aware of that, but we'll be able to come back to the board and see if that's an expense that they want to incur. There's a few concerns when you look at the pathway from the end of the mobile station down to Salem. There's a couple of homes that are close to the road there, and when you're adding the sidewalk, I think what we don't know now is whether or not we have to build that snow shelf in. Typically, when you're on a state road, you're required to. We were not required to when we did the sidewalk up Quaker Road. The guidelines changed since then and they're now requiring it. We are hoping there's an exemption, we don't know that for a fact. So that would change the width of the sidewalk and how much of the residents' property would have to be used.
Assuming that moves forward as expected, what would be the timeline for the phase 2 to build to Salem?
To build it, I can't give you a timeline until we do the assessment. We're hoping to do the assessment in 2026. 2027 or that's something that will then have to go out to bid and you'll have to go through that whole process. So it's not an immediate process for that.
What tends to be the criteria for an exemption for the snow shelf?
I don't know. I don't know if they even offer such,
I
we're,
don't think they do.
It's intentionally
Yeah.
vague.
Pleasantville managed
Right.
to get
we haven't
everyone-
been able to understand how they managed to
But
do
that was with a developer.
They asked
It was
really
a developer and
nicely.
it may have been a project that was existing at some, it was a long-term project that maybe the design was in place and approved long before it was built. I think that's the
Maybe it was part of the development
Best that
and
it
the
was.
agreement
It
and,
was,
you know,
and
the
that's the
building
best
of
that we
more
can
accessible.
understand, so.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not doable, it just means that the width of the sidewalk is now larger and we're, you know, you're going to be cutting into private property, which on a state road means a taking.
That's right.
Um,
Eminent domain.
But there are so many homes in that Chappaqua Ridge neighborhood, it would be really nice to get them safely
Absolutely,
connected to
I,
town.
and
Yeah,
again, these are,
that's
I'm
why
pointing out
we- yeah.
concerns,
we need to look at
not
this, yeah.
not necessarily obstacles, but concerns that,
Yeah.
you know.
And they, all those houses would be connected then to downtown and to the
Yep.
train station.
I live nearby to there,
Mhm.
so
Oh.
I see the people walking on that street daily and
Yeah, that is what we, you know,
Yeah.
that concerned us.
it really does make me worried for them.
Right.
Yeah, like I say, that's there are concerns, there are things to take into account, not necessarily an obstacle, so it doesn't mean it can't be done, it just means, you know, the design of it may be different, may cost more money, and it may be more intrusive to the neighbors that are exactly on the road.
We use the tree fund? I'm joking, joking.
Did we said you were,
I'm actually wondering, and I don't know if this is a joke or not, but I'm wondering if there's such a thing as like a religious exemption, because there is a synagogue over there and often people walk, like that's a thing. I
Like
mean,
where your
can
head's
you
at?
apply for a religious exemption
But
for something
would
like
it have to
that?
connect and the sidewalk would have to keep going to
No, Lena? Lena, you're
the
saying no?
synagogue?
Higher
Yeah.
authority.
no,
Oh, that would be,
That would be
people would
amazing.
love that.
our lawyer said no.
Wow.
The lawyer said no.
Now,
Wishful
there
thinking.
are religious exemptions on the RLUIPA when you are substantially burdening their freedom to practice their religion with zoning controls, but that wouldn't really qualify as one of them.
Building a sidewalk that we want, okay. No, oh, good try.
Hmm.
Because they've litigated those cases.
Oh,
Did you win?
wow.
Bummer.
Some yes, some no.
Bravo.
And the other sidewalk that we had considered, this was from
Sonia Sotomayor.
when I was on the board, you know, more
One down
than
below.
2 years ago. So we have a sidewalk that the town had contemplated to connect the Millwood commercial area to Gedney Park and West Orchard School. So that was still in the feasibility study
Yeah, so it's-
stage.
It has honestly been a back burner issue for our staff. They've got an awful lot of work. We went through a transition in the last year for town engineer and they just haven't had the bandwidth to get to that. If you remember, what needs to take place is that they actually need to shift the roadway in that area because I think the way that the right of way exists and so they needed to do an RFP to come out and I guess have a consultant do a feasibility study. So you know, that's staff, it's on our radar, we're aware of it, it just hasn't been something we've been able to get to so
And
far.
how would that work into our budget? You know, if we're looking at these other sidewalk options, the chop line, the 117, 120 sidewalk, and I suppose these things take a while, so I'm sure it would be staggered
Mhm.
in terms of, but you know,
Yeah,
budget
absolutely.
periods.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay.
something we would have to budget for once, you
Yeah.
know, once we have a feasibility study and we would come up with an estimated cost for the project and we do kind of cost benefit, right? Does the cost benefit the right amount of people? We did that 2 summers ago when we looked at extending the Quaker Road sidewalk and we decided for, I think, about a $6 million estimate to link, you know, 8 more homes and you know, you have that one home that was right there that you're gonna be in the guy's front room. So, you know, we determined that wouldn't work. So, you know, this is something we would have to determine whether that works, if the, you know, cost is reasonable for the benefit it provides.
Okay. Alright, any comments for anyone on sidewalks, walkability? Okay. Traffic safety, we have a road safety initiative. As you know, we had an initial report from Creighton Manning on the reduction of the speed limit on local roads. Not state roads, not connector roads as they defined it, but on local roads. And so it sounds like that can happen, but they need to provide us with their final
Yeah, well,
report.
they do look at some of the connector roads, the Douglas Road, which in particular, that is a connector road.
We had asked them to work
Revisit
out
that.
revisit ways that Douglas could be made more walkable. Initially, they said it could not because it's one of those connector roads, but we made a special request for that road.
Yeah, so they're looking at traffic calming methods, they're looking at a combination of factors that they can use there, whether or not they do recommend lowering the speed limit. They have what they call traffic calming measures, which could help reduce the speed there. I know the chief has kind of stepped up enforcement over the last few months as this has become more of a priority. I know sometimes coming in, I see an officer sitting on a side road there often. So they are scheduled to present next Tuesday. So they took what we saw in October was the first draft of their report based on the feedback from the town board and some of the areas we asked them to either revisit or focus on. One of the things on Douglas Road is, the chief had done a speed study and they had done an independent speed study and the speeds differed on what they were seeing in the road, but they also took the speeds at different places. So we asked them to go back and take a look at that and try to get a real gauge on what the 85th percentile, which is the measurement for speed on that road. So we look forward to hearing from them on Tuesday with an update. This is still a draft form. This isn't, I believe, not their final report until they hear back.
I'd love for us to explore kind of a larger road and pedestrian safety and awareness campaign, kind of in conjunction with that. Like I see this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I had proposed. This is
Yeah.
just the first
Okay.
part of road safety.
Okay, great.
And I had proposed a task force, but another task force. But I thought we would do this study first
Okay.
On reducing the speed limits and, we have a very active group. I don't wanna get ahead of things, but we have very great advocates in the Somerstown Road
Mhm.
group. And so I've spoken to a few people around town as well who are interested in this. So we definitely, to improve road safety, we need much more than lowering the speed limit. Obviously, we need public education, an awareness campaign. So that to me is another task force. I don't wanna be accused of being, I think Rob Greenstein created a committee and task force every week, so I don't think I have to worry. But I do think that we do need an awareness campaign and we need to bring the community in.
Yeah.
But that was the original plan, but that was, we talked about that such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I do wanna keep that.
Yeah, I'd love to call that out as, kind of as the goal,
Yeah, thank you for
less than, cause the way it reads now, it sounds like it's just about the speeds, but I'm glad that you're looking bigger, cause I think that's
We
all
have,
good.
it says road safety initiative, so this is the one we're working on now, but yeah.
So, and if you remember, in order to recommend a reduction in the speed limit, we had to undertake this study. This wasn't something the board could just decide to do without undertaking
Right, that's part of the
study.
state law allowing for the reduction.
So that
Okay.
this is just the first step.
Right, okay, and now we have zoning, the North Greeley corridor. We have 50 North Greeley, the application is pending. I'd like everyone to know that they have had a special permit allowing 50 North Greeley to be developed for over 2 years now. I believe the special permit was awarded at the end of 2023.
Yeah, that's right, when you
The
came on, right?
legislation came in and they
Yeah.
received, a negative declaration for the legislation, and that was
Right.
2023. Now, they've applied for site plan special permit, which is before your board, and that application has just been filed, so recently, so
Right.
we just got that, it's now with staff for review.
Correct, and I'm reminding everyone that this is private property. with a private developer. We've been very encouraging of their submissions and eagerly awaiting to see the proper plans and submissions that are in the forms that are normally accepted by a town. So we are very eager to see what they've got and eager to get this going.
So I have hard copies for each board member that I can share with you tonight, if you wanna take home for some very light reading. They're large packets.
We've seen that before.
I can distribute that to the board tonight. Staff is now currently reviewing, if you remember when we did the completeness review, we had a host of comments that we went back to the applicant on, and they've had to respond to all of those, and that's what now staff is reviewing their responses.
Okay, we look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, and we think we're estimating staff will take about 30 days to do that. And I think we were looking at having that discussion maybe the 24th of February. You think that's a
That's doable. That's what we talked about, cause again, there's a lot to review, but that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of timeline.
Yeah, so that's a tentative timeline based, depending on what staff finds in their review.
Okay, great. All right, good luck reviewing that. I hope it's complete and I hope it's as expected. Okay, and we are looking at further zoning, not in the North Greeley corridor, but in the MFRC, which is multifamily residential in the Chappaqua Hamlet. We're expecting to, Barb, do you wanna talk, or Lino, do you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I mean, yeah, I've been working with Sabrina on updating the MFRC. We hope to have that draft to you sometime in the next, week or two, just so you can look at it. But really, that provision of the code has been around since the 70s in various iterations, but we're looking just to kind of clean it up, make it a little bit more user friendly, so that's the goal. So hopefully you'll have that, you can review it, and we can set that, when the board's ready, you can set that for consideration for public hearing when it's appropriate. But that's where I'm working with staff now and Sabrina and planning to get that legislation to you.
What's the timing on that? Rob just gave us a 30-day thing. So
No, that's
I know it's completely different.
Yeah, for me to get the legislation, you'll probably have it probably this week, next. Okay.
And that is to clarify density incentives.
Correct.
To make it easier for developers to address deficiencies or, develop their properties. And that's the area going up King Street and down. It includes North Greeley as well.
Correct, yeah, it's
So
the
this would include the
RD,
Lutheran Church property, would include the
right.
well, what we call the Hakeem property, which is north of 50 North Greeley, immediately north of that. So there's been legislation on the books for many years, since the 70s, as Lino said, and there's been a lack of clarity, and so I think that has discouraged reasonable, adequate development.
Sure.
So looking forward to getting that legislation as well.
And we wanna be doing that before the new economic task force has really kind of settled in.
In conjunction, the Economic Task Force is not really, their mission is not really to propose zoning changes.
Sure,
Their
but this
mission
is
is
commercial
to-
tied, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
You said
and I
commercial
think
people found it as a blocker,
it
so-
complements the work that we will be doing. Yeah, and this is in keeping with what I think we have promised our residents, is to look at zoning changes that would encourage reasonable development for the town. I don't think anyone has ever expected properties like 50 North Greeley or the Hakeem property or the Lutheran Church to stay as it is. So we want reasonable development to promote vibrancy in this town. We can see the empty storefronts that are happening. It would be good to have more feet on the street downtown. And so we hope to do that in a way that is in keeping with the character of the town and what our residents would like to see. Yeah, so that's very much in conjunction and in keeping with the role of the task force in revitalizing our downtown.
Well, do we want, this is a good segue, I mean, do we wanna add to our 2026 goals economic revitalization since we
Oh,
appointed
yeah,
one year.
I do have that on my notes,
Okay.
yeah, so that's so obvious, so yes, we wanna add the goals of the economic or just, the economic revitalization task force, we wanna put that, yeah,
We've specified that it's like for the
the work of the
downtown
task force.
Chappaqua, it's
Mhm.
is we're kind
Yeah.
of focused with that. That's the concern, right?
Yeah. And what was interesting, like without getting ahead of the task force, but what was interesting in interviews was hearing from people that it's not just about the physical aspect of the downtown, it's also about community gathering and events and bringing people together and having a place to go. So I'm really excited to see what ideas the task force comes up
Yes.
with.
Our first
with you
meeting
as
is scheduled,
liaison.
yeah, sorry, yeah, our first meeting is scheduled for next week.
Okay, good.
So Holly and I are the liaisons to that, and we will keep the board and the community updated.
I had a thought about another potential goal to add, which is a little bit more intangible, but something that we do kind of work on as a town board and there are town committees committed to resident wellness, well-being and awareness. And we do have actually several different committees that work toward that for residents, like quality of life,
Yeah.
more in like the mental space. So like we have the Committee on Mental Resilience, the Committee on Inclusion and Belonging, the LGBTQ plus committee, just to enhance happiness in town and awareness and the Committee on Mental Resilience has really been working very hard, providing a monthly space for people to talk about mental health needs and to find out more about resources. There's gonna be a talk in March about phone usage in children through the
good.
ages. I thought Ally would be interested in this.
You know, this is
Sort of your
Yeah.
sweet spot. So we have some experts coming together to talk to parents about phone usage and their kids and maybe even themselves. Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important thing that we've been working on for the community.
So you'd like to verbalize it and put it
Yeah, I
as a
mean,
goal,
why
community
not? It's
well-being,
something-
it's something
yeah.
we do, I
Just
think
so
that's a
that-
great idea, I love that.
Yeah, just so that if people do look at what we're working on, they know that that's something that
They
we
know
have
that we
a-
care about that.
It's a
Yes.
priority,
Yeah,
for
Yeah,
sure.
that it's a priority.
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea, I like that. You got that?
I did.
Anyone else have any other ideas for new goals?
I don't right now, but I reserve the right to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is the first, this is like I said, this is an initial discussion, we've looked at what we did last year, we reaffirmed that we wanna continue some of them and everyone will have time to think and come back.
Yeah, I think we a wider conversation or wider review needs to be done about the parking lot. I know we just talked about it, whatever it was, 8 minutes ago or 80 minutes ago, but
Yeah.
whether I don't think it's clear and I don't know enough to know whether are we gonna see more people getting called back to the office, are other towns gonna be building up their residential and using our train station, and so we're actually gonna need more parking space, cause we're close to capacity in some days. Or it's gonna be the opposite, are we gonna see millennials and Gen Z taking over leadership positions and seeing more remote work, which would mean less traffic, and then we could use that space for other things. So we were talking earlier, like I would love to see these solar panels up, I'd love to see more green space there, but I can't say with certainty what the parking lot's needs are gonna be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And I think it's very important that we find out now before we start having people parking at the library to get to the train station.
Eric, you actually remind me about something that's been kind of that I've been thinking about is the train station parking lot, but parking in general in town. I hear a lot of times people say that there's not enough parking But I don't know if there's not enough parking where people want to park, or if there are things that we could do to improve it, like maybe the merchant districts and things like that. So I think maybe I'd love to start exploring parking a little bit more generally as well. To make sure that we all have kind of a grounded understanding of the current situation, and as we come up upon other topics,
Is there a parking feasibility study that we've undertaken in the last?
Ever?
not since COVID, and I think that would probably
No, I don't know of one in the time.
don't
Just
know
a
one, period.
general, I mean, there were feasibility studies or traffic studies done in conjunction with zoning proposals,
Yeah.
but that's not a general traffic
No.
study. I mean, yeah, I can
Parking.
see that
there may be some
that
low
there could be
hanging fruit, there may be some
useful
bigger
information that would come from that.
things. Yeah.
That would be, an undertaking, there'd be a cost associated with that. So what you're suggesting is a traffic study for the entire Chappaqua commercial hamlet.
Not traffic, but more
More
parking.
I'm sorry, I meant
Yeah,
parking.
cause I think that, we talk about it and we toss it around, but I'm not sure we have any grounding, or at least good
Right, you want
grounding
data.
Yeah,
You know, when we
exactly.
talk
Mhm.
about development or projects, the number one feedback we always get, the concern from residents is always parking.
Right.
And it might make sense to have a holistic, comprehensive understanding of parking feasibility, not tailored toward a particular project, right? Just a holistic understanding of the parking structure in town, what the needs are, what the needs could be with an expanded downtown, revitalized downtown. That might help us
Mhm.
kind of rule out or kind of commit to maybe some other projects down the line, just having like a better sense of a parking assessment. So maybe that's something that we could put at the top of the list to
I think it would inform almost everything that we're doing.
I agree, cause
Yeah.
sometimes it feels, and I know we hear this complaint a lot, that like maybe we're putting the cart before the horse. We're like thinking about, we want this, we want this, we want this. But if there's nowhere for people to park and come into town, or we're hearing, well, I don't wanna park at the train station to go to the North Greeley area.
Yep.
Then, we're not really thinking about this holistically the way that we would really like to.
Yeah, so it's better to operate from knowledge because
Right.
we really operate from anecdotal
Right,
evidence and accounts of, I can't find parking and we don't have the data to really accurately respond, so I think that's a great thought.
it would definitely root a decision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. Okay, we'll put that down.
Yep.
Okay, so let us know, I mean, would we have to put out an RFP for a consultant?
So when I talked to Creighton Manning next, I mean, they're the firm that did our traffic study. If this is a large study, we would probably have to go out for an RFP for it. I would just start with them to just see if they have experience doing that type of thing. I assume that they would if they're
Right.
involved with traffic. There's other firms we've used in the past. I think up at Chappaqua Crossing, they use AKRF. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I know them, I know John Canning,
Yeah.
I know
We work with-
Colliers, I mean, Phil Greeley, they're all,
John Canning was part of the form-based code, so
they don't want
we might call
but I
John.
worked with them all, but yeah, no AKRF, so.
Yeah, no doubt there's an
Well, listen,
industry
we
for
want the
this.
best we want the best person at the most reasonable
Yeah.
price, so maybe you could come back with specific information for us,
Yeah,
at
like I
the
said,
next
I'll
meeting, like,
I'll start with the
what do we need an RFP? Can you talk to Creighton Manning since they're working for us now, if we have to go out for an RFP
Yeah, I mean, I can
process?
discuss, do they do that type of work and just maybe even a real ballpark estimate on the cost, right? If they're telling me it's $10,000 and I don't have to go out for an RFP, if they're telling me it's $75,000, I have to go out for an RFP, so
Okay,
that would help
great,
that and to understand if they have any experience in doing, I assume they do, but
And I can share with you too, I think another village that I represented did a parking needs assessment in their downtown, and so I can maybe share that with you.
This,
Okay,
we gotta start.
good start. Any other ideas?
No, but I'm gonna think on it.
Yeah, same here.
I don't wanna bite off more than we can chew, right? I think there's some really important projects here. And I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. There are some things that I'd like to see come to fruition this year and leave myself some room for some new projects once we can check a few things off of the
we
list.
have always said that, and also the town and the staff have ongoing infrastructure
Right,
projects that
Absolutely.
are not just they're a necessity.
Yes.
So those are the absolute have-tos, water mains, sewer lines, all the projects that are on the docket.
And
That are
some of
ongoing.
these things coincide with what, when I give the quarterly projects update, some of these things are on that. Some of them aren't necessarily, and that's why we asked, years back, we started doing asking the board for their specific goals to give our staff a direction on where to go.
Right.
That's what this does. And I think if you look at this list, we made significant progress in
We did.
2025.
Yes, we
There's
did,
a,
yes.
a lot of this stuff is ongoing. I don't think anything or very many things are closed out, but it's ongoing and we're in the middle of
They're
all of these
active,
things.
yeah.
They are active.
I think you can argue the Getney Pond one's closed out as an example, like there's now a plan in place, I'm serious, like now a plan's been put
plan-
in place and it's rolling and that'll be something on a rolling, I
Yeah,
think
yes,
this is-
but
But
I,
it's
yeah,
not
I'm giving you
it's
finished.
the
props
work on
here,
the
I'm-
project.
There's a
Yeah.
main part of it that needs to happen.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we still need
But it's been, I'm trying to give you more credit
But-
than you're giving yourself.
No,
Yeah.
this, in concept, sometimes it all seems so easy, and then when you execute it, it's not as easy as it seems like it would be. And, back, the DEC changed their regulations, was it January of 2025? And in 2024.
in the middle of our process. They
Correct,
changed
we
it,
wouldn't
right.
have had to have specific permits, and now we do, and now all of a sudden it's a 90-day lead time
Right, so that's what held
to
things
get
up,
the
yeah.
project going, so, sometimes, best laid plans, but, we're getting there.
Okay, so in other words, we can't take it off the list because there's a substantial part of it, but yeah, Rob did great progress on it. You are right, Okay, so we'll all give this further thought and we will come back to it. Do people, let's see, our next meeting is next week. Do people want a little more time to think about it, or do you wanna revisit this? Do you feel ready to revisit next week? Do you want time to mull it over, time to maybe ask Rob some questions?
I'd love if we could give it another meeting, not for next week.
I would say so,
In the
the
next
I
two
agree.
meetings?
next week we
I
have
would think that,
we have
yeah.
a couple of things that might take a little bit of time, so you may wanna think about that, and
So we'll put this on the agenda, not for next meeting, but for the following.
yeah, I think so,
Okay,
February 10th.
good plan, alright. Okay, so that brings us to, is everyone all set?
yes.
Okay, so that brings us to administrative items. Rob, do you wanna go over that?
Quite a few, because we haven't met in a regular board meeting in about a month. So we have 4 retroactive payment of claims, December 5th, 9th, 12th, and 19th. We have the authorization to approve the Westchester County snow and ice agreement from October 1st of 25 through September 30th of 2030, 5-year term. So this is just in recent meetings, we passed the New York State snow and ice reimbursement. This is Westchester County. The rate is $5,030 per mile annually. There are 5.66 miles of county road in the town. It equates to $28,469 annually. We have the authorization to apply the CPI and the disposal rate increase to the contract under the DPW solid waste and recycling services bid with Sanipro. We are in the final year of the Sanipro contract. We will begin putting together the bid this summer, unfortunately for next year. So the increase is 3.10% for the collection, 4% for the disposal, and unfortunately, 20.37% increase on the disposal of the commingled product. So that has been skyrocketing over the last couple of years. There is
What
not
has caused that?
it's not easy. There are not a lot of places to dispose of it. The commingled is more difficult than when we did the dual stream and it was segregated, and now, it's a process to separate. We collect all the commingled together. So these are just kind of market forces. It's been over the last 10 years or so changing. China stopped accepting years ago a lot of what we were sending over there. Unfortunately, we're stuck with this rate for next year, and we'll see what the new contract brings. We have the authorization to award the RFP for professional consulting and engineering services for proposed water main improvements. This has been awarded or will be awarded to H2M, the amount of $227,025. This project is for cleaning and cement relining of water mains. This helps to extend the useful life of the water mains. So there's a total of 9,700 linear feet of water main to be cleaned and relined. This will be on Lakeview, Adams, Possum, Valley View, Brookside, High Point, Kathleen, Daily Cross, and Horseshoe. And in that proposal, we're outright replacing 600 linear feet on Peck. We have the authorization to amend the reimbursement policy regarding damage to property, and this is mailboxes. So I apologize, but I asked Lauren to put a placeholder in the meeting agenda, and I never actually submitted the memo to discuss this. So what this talks about is the town has had a policy in place since 2016 where if a mailbox gets damaged by our snowplows, the town would reimburse up to $250. So as we had the first request of such mailbox needing replacement this year, the quote came in at about $600. And so we had a discussion with Lino, and we realized that our policy is 10 years old and we hadn't really revisited that since that time, and that the cost of replacing some mailboxes in town, these are some really intricate mailboxes and very fancy mailboxes. So, I asked Bart about how many times a year this happens, and he said about 5 or 6 times a year. So we've always preferred to handle this in-house rather than have them file a claim and have that against our insurance. So Lino, do you have anything to add to that?
We thought it would be, because again, it hasn't been updated, so we thought it would be a good idea to increase what the reimbursement is for those mailboxes that are inadvertently hit during a snowstorm or when they clear.
Yeah,
So,
for
good
what
time to
it's
do it.
worth, I was recently looking for quotes to replace ours, and that sounds right in the ballpark.
It's in line, yep.
I wouldn't have thought it, but he actually provided 2 quotes.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, really did not expect that.
Okay, we have the authorization to approve the 2026 MVP healthcare premium rates. That increase is 9.5% over the prior year. So I'll just remind the board, we have 2 healthcare plans that we offer employees here. The vast majority of employees and retirees are on the MEPCO plan. We've offered kind of these we've offered an option with healthcare plans because long ago, a lot of our employees live up in Dutchess County, and at the time the MEPCO plan, the network up in that area didn't reach them. So as kind of a compromise with the unions, during negotiations, we left this other plan, MVP, which is significantly higher price plan. We still offer it, but for comparison's sake, we have 212 retirees and employees in MEPCO. We have 18 employees in the MVP plan. So vast majority of our employees and retirees are with MEPCO, which is a significantly lower plan, and the town has been part of that for over 20 years, and it's really benefited the town in that time. We've been able to partner, it's a consortium with 7 or 8 other municipalities and school districts where we're able to self-insure and control our costs. So unfortunately, the MVP rate is 9.5%. By contrast, MEPCO was 4% this past year. We have the authorization to approve the Northeast Westchester Special Recreation Interagency Agreement. The amount is $17,145. This is the entity that helps provides therapeutic recreational programs for some of our disabled residents. It's a program we've been involved with for many years. We have the authorization to purchase replacement truck and landscaping equipment for parks. This was anticipated in the 2026 budget. We're purchasing a F-150 pickup truck, $47,181, and then 2 mowers and 1 sprayer at a total cost of $38,384. As I mentioned in our earlier discussion, authorization to accept the proposal for bathroom station trailer for summer camp, hopefully for the last time. The low bidder was John To Go, and that cost is $9,680. We have an authorization to approve the request for a variance from the procurement policy for handrail installation at the Chapac parking lot. Procurement policy requires us to get 3 bids, and unfortunately, we sent the proposal out to 10 companies. We had 2 responses. So we are selecting the lowest response, which is $16,475, but we're just asking for a variance from the procurement policy because we were not able to get a 3rd bid.
And is that our
It's our policy, yeah.
right, so
And the auditors would,
the board grants
yes,
the variance,
yeah,
okay.
and the auditors would accept that. You know, we did our due diligence. We had, if you look at the memo.
So you're asking us to
Yeah.
okay.
Jeff Gaspar, the engineer, lists all the entities he tried to get in contact with to provide a quote. And some were non-responsive, some said they would, and they ultimately did not by the response time.
Where is that handrail going?
Along the sidewalk, the area that they just poured recently from, I think from up at the new the handicap parking area, and there's that walkway that goes down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it,
Because of the slope there, they need to put a handrail in.
got it, okay.
Lost my place. So authorization, the next 4 I think are software programs affiliated with the police department. Approval for Nixle, that's our emergency notification system. That's $5,361 annually. Visual Computer Solutions, $3,098. Goosetown is our communications, they maintain all our police radios. That maintenance contract's $4,260. Our Ricky software subscription, $3,100. That's the booking software that they use, fortunately, when someone's arrested. We have the authorization to approve the 2026 agreement with the SPCA of Westchester, $12,872. We have the authorization to accept the proposal for the 2026 permitting, maintenance, and treatment of water quality at Gedney Pond. That is to Little Bear Environmental Consulting for $4,586. We have the authorization to accept the proposal for the spring and summer decorative flower program for the downtown Chappaqua and Millwood. That's being awarded to Beds and Borders. Total cost of $6,397. We have the authorization to establish the capital project in the budget for the Chapline pedestrian walkway. We're currently approving that project at $7,250,000. $5 million of that is a TAP grant. Another $500,000 is the Climate Smart Communities grant, and the remaining amounts are the local match that we have to provide. We have the authorization to order the RFP to award the RFP for the building needs assessment to DCAK at a total cost of $90,280. And finally, a change that was originally scheduled for this evening, but unfortunately, due to some miscommunication, we didn't notice that properly, and we're going to change that public hearing date to February the 10th.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
So it was a long one.
Alright, and with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the work session and open the town board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are hereby at our town board meeting. Let's start with announcements. Rob, any announcements?
Christina, do you wanna?
Oh, no, thank you.
Just a reminder that the second half school taxes are due no later than January 31st. We ask that if you do mail them, you make sure you witness a postmark on your envelope. Don't just drop it in, don't leave it in your mailbox. Make sure you take it to the post office and witness it. We do have a drop box here at Town Hall, and that's available 24/7. And of course, if you'd like to walk in here, we'd love to see you. And also you are able to pay it online through our website.
Okay, very important information, Christina.
Yes.
There are always people who forget or who
That's
don't know,
right.
and then they have to pay
The
the
penalties are
penalty, which is very steep, so.
very steep, and we hate to have anyone have to pay that. So we will be sending out a nixle, but if there's anyone that you wanna make sure you share it with, it's just so painful.
Yeah.
And you have to pay that for just missing the day.
Okay. Thank you. Any other announcements? No, okay. For supervisor's report, I just want to say that we had a wonderful inauguration yesterday at Chapac. It was the inauguration for Eric as a new town council person, for Holly for her re-election as a deputy supervisor, for my election for a second term as town supervisor, for Noah Sorkin as town justice. And we were so honored to have Vedat Gashi, county legislator and chairman of the Board of Legislators, also get inaugurated with us. We were so honored to have President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton perform the swearing-in ceremonies as they have always done. And we thank them so very much for being such great community partners and engaging with our community every year so consistently, including at our parades and events. So thank you to them so much for taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us. We had a letter from Chuck Schumer. We had a video from Senator Pete Harckham. Chris Burdick was present, County Executive Ken Jenkins. Let's see, we had our other town council persons, Jennifer Klein was there, Ali Keptov was there. And I believe that's everyone. We had dignitaries and elected officials in the audience. And it was a wonderful ceremony. We had a great time too. We had great speeches, great remarks, and we had fun.
Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts.
Yes, presentation of colors. I need to say something. This was not in our program, and it was brought to my attention that in the presentation of colors, we always forget to include CVAC. We included,
I saw
The
Mark.
fire
Yeah,
departments.
Mark Hirschfield was there.
I know, but unfortunately, they were not listed on the program.
Oh.
And in the all of the activities in the moment, I didn't look up to see who was actually standing on the stage. So when I thanked everyone, I did not include CVAC. We had the Newcastle Police Department, we had all the fire departments, and so I just want to acknowledge the participation of the Chappaqua Volunteer Ambulance Corps. We will make sure that doesn't happen again. I think it happened the last time and I didn't know. So thank you to CVAC for participating in the inauguration, and everyone did a wonderful job in the presentation of colors. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts led the Pledge of Allegiance. We had Greeley students perform musical accompaniment. We had a really senior sing the national anthem. And I think that covers the entire program, right? Am I missing?
Just a thank
Missing
you to
anything?
staff.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And last but not least, thank you to Rob Deary. Thank you to Lauren Cascone. Thank you to Christina Papes for doing all the work to put all this together. It couldn't have happened without you. And I saw the extent of the work behind the scenes. There were a lot of moving parts. So thank you so much for taking all of that time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, that's it for my supervisor's report. If anyone wants to report on something that I haven't, I think, it's just the beginning of the year, not too much has been going on so far, right? So,
There's a lot of administrative items, so, yeah.
yes. Okay, Rob, do you have anything for administrator's report?
Not really, I think I covered most of what I would have put in the administrator's report in the discussion, so.
Yeah, we went through a lot, yeah.
I don't really, but just to say congratulations to the new and returning board members and existing board members. Looking forward to working with you in the year to come.
Yes,
Keep on
same here.
trucking.
Keep on trucking.
Same here.
Back at ya.
R.I.P. Bubbles.
All right, okay, we have reached the public comment, new business period. Seeing that there's no one in the audience, I'd like to ask if there are any hands raised for public comment online.
No hands are raised.
Okay, no hands are raised, so we will close the public comment period and get to our consent agenda. Rob, I presume you've gone over everything listed here in
Yes,
the
I-
work session administrative items. Is there anything else that
Not on the
which is
consent.
not here, that was not there, that is? No?
Nope.
Okay, so we don't need to go over it again. And the proposed actions will be in the resolutions, right? Okay, so let's start. Eric, do you wanna start us off with the consent agenda?
So I just need to say I move to.
Yeah, just the first line, you don't have to read all of the items.
Just to read that.
That's it.
I move to adopt items 1 through 19 as listed on the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you can go on. You can do the next page.
Gotcha. I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $714,166.95 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail report, both dated December 5th, 2025. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Friday, December 5th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did I move
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, just
to
do the first,
retroact,
the
I'm
whole
just doing the
page.
whole, the whole page, got it.
Yeah.
I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $87,690 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail report, both dated December 9th, 2025. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $527,200.20 listed on the summary AP check register and detail voucher detail report, both dated December 12th, 2025. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Friday, December 12th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I move to retroactively approve the payment of claims in the amount of $771,618.34 listed on the summary AP check register and detailed voucher detail report, both dated December 19th, 2025. Checks were printed and distributed to each claimant listed on Friday, December 19th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of the following individuals for the position of recreation attendant within the Recreation and Parks Department for 2026 summer camp at the rates indicated below, effective January 12th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll do the last one.
more, yeah?
I move to authorize the hiring of the following individuals listed below for the position of recreation attendant within the Recreation and Parks Department to assist with the youth basketball program at the following rates and dates as indicated below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to authorize the hiring of the following individuals for the position of recreation attendant within the Recreation and Parks Department to serve as 2026 ski trip chaperones at the following rates and dates as indicated below.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. I move to accept the resignation of Alejandro Petrosino from the position of labor within the Recreation and Parks Department effective January 16th, 2025. Town would like to thank Alejandro for his service.
Second.
Thank you for your service. All in favor?
Aye.
Jen, do you wanna take the last two?
Sure. I move to authorize the posting and hiring for the position of laborer within the Recreation and Parks Department at the annual salary ranging from $53,841.35 to $73,940.59.
Second.
All in favor?
I move to authorize the extension of the part-time social media coordinator Matthew Hernandez for the total stipend amount of $6,960 to be paid in the amount of $580 bi-weekly for a period of 24 weeks effective retroactively from December 19th, 2025 through June 22nd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize the change in title for Denise Lombardi to Senior Real Property Appraiser at an annual salary of $115,577, effective retroactively to January 1st, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are hereby adjourned. Thank you very much.